everybody, UmamiHobby here, and today I will be going over a beginner's guide to paper theater. So what is paper theater exactly? Paper theater is a form of crafts that allow you to recreate scenes from animes by layering different colored thick pieces of paper to form a complete picture. It is a relaxing art form that is also satisfying as the final picture gets revealed. Now that we know what paper theater is, where can you buy these? You can check your local anime store to see if they have these in stock. I personally find mine at a hobby store in the local mall in Okinawa, Japan. I have also seen these on eBay and Amazon. With such a large selection, how do you select the paper theater that is right for you? Well, the first rule of thumb is to pick one that gets you excited to do. These are time-consuming projects, and if you have one that you are just not into, you're more likely not to complete it. First, we'll go over the difficulty level. Each paper theater comes with its own difficulty levels rated by a 1 to 5 diamond scheme. 1 diamond is the least difficult, and 5 diamonds is the most difficult. The more diamonds a paper theater has, the more detailed it will be and will have more pieces that are likely to be tinier. The less diamonds a paper theater has, the less pieces and less detail you will face. So what exactly are the different types of paper theater? There is paper, wood, cube, and ball. There are also different sizes for paper theaters. There's a large, small, and regular sized. There are also portrait types and landscape types in regards to layout. So now that you've selected your paper theater, let's go over the instructions. You will find most paper theater in Japanese, but if you are looking for English, make sure to look for the sticker that says English instructions included. However, if you cannot find English, you can still read the instructions perfectly. They use a visual guide, which I found was more helpful than being able to read. The instructions are in color and have very detailed visuals on how to put together the paper theater. Follow the numbered layers in order and cut out the pieces layer by layer. Pay attention to the numbers because sometimes you will have to place layers in a certain order. There will usually be an assembled picture to show you what the end result is supposed to look like. Be mindful of front and back type instructions, as this will tell you what side of the frame to glue on. So what kind of materials are needed for this type of project? Your basic materials include a cutting mat, a cutting knife, glue, and tweezers. For the cutting mat, choose a size that is right for you. This might depend on the amount of space you have available to work with. Mats come in a variety of sizes. For the cutting knife, I prefer to use Tamiya design knife, which is specifically for detailed crafting. It is smaller than a regular blade, which is why I prefer this. But you can use whatever you are comfortable with. You can buy cutting knives at your local hobby store or online. My favorite brand is Tamiya, but there are other brands available. Make sure your blade is fresh and sharp with no grooves or rust. And be very careful when replacing the blade, and always dispose of the blade in the container provided. There are many types of glue you can use. Just make sure that the type of glue you're using is for paper or wood and that it dries clear. I prefer to use a glue with a long nozzle as it makes precision gluing a lot easier, especially when it comes to tiny pieces. The glue that I use is called Power Ace A-Clear Glue, and I found it at my local hobby store, but you can also get it online at Amazon Japan. I have unfortunately not been able to find this anywhere else. I have seen some people use a toothpick or even a glue stick to carefully put the glue on the pieces. However, I found that using the toothpick method was a bit of a hassle as the glue would dry out easily. Tweezers help tremendously with the tiny pieces. I highly recommend you buy a bent tip tweezer, as this will help you place the pieces with more precision. So now that you have all your materials, let's get started with the gluing. If you have a nozzle glue like I do, you can use the dotting method. I used this method a lot when I first started, as it was a learning process to figure out how much glue is too much or too little. With the dotting method, you can just place small dots around the edges of your pieces and space them out evenly. got comfortable with the amount of glue to use, I started using the smearing technique. You start by applying very light pressure and moving the nozzle back and forth and covering the whole piece so that there is a thin layer of glue across the surface. As long as you get most of the edges, you do not need to completely cover the area. The last method that I use and use the most nowadays is the spiraling technique. This is almost the same concept as the smearing, except you are going in small spirals across the piece. This is especially helpful when you have large pieces with gaps in it. Put light pressure onto the paper and quickly move the glue around in spirals around the whole area.
Hey everyone, Marks and Crafts here. I'm joining UmamiHobby for a moment so I can show you a glue application technique. I call this the paintbrush technique. Basically you get a disposable cotton swab and apply glue to it, either by dabbing it in glue or applying glue directly to it. Then, using the cotton swab as a paintbrush, you brush the glue onto the area you want. I find this technique gives you quite a bit of control over the glue. Just make sure to change swabs regularly, as you don't want any fuzz rubbing off on your papercraft kit. Hope that helped. Bye!
Now let's put it all together. Once you have oriented yourself with the instructions and materials needed, you are ready to start. Look for the frames that are numbered and separate them from the rest of the colors. This will help organize a bit more. Once you have your numbered one frame, carefully look at the border of the frame to find the areas you need to cut. This will look like tiny dots. Check the instructions for the pieces you will need next. For beginners, I recommend to start with one panel at a time to not overwhelm yourself. Look at the colors carefully and make sure they match, as I have found some colors to look very similar. Look for the tiny dots to cut around the pieces and take them out one by one. I recommend testing the pieces first by gently pulling them away to make sure you have completely cut them out. Once you have cut all the required pieces, you are ready for gluing. Depending on the type of glue you are using, you will have a very small window where you can slide the piece around before the glue dries solid. Take advantage of this and align your piece up perfectly. Also, check the backside to make sure your piece is in the correct place and not sticking out. For the layers to all fit, it is important to make sure they are in their proper place. Once the glue has dried, it is very difficult to fix. So what happens if you do make a mistake and glue the piece on wrong or glue the wrong piece down? Most mistakes are easily fixed, so don't worry. If you found that you made a mistake and the glue has dried completely, just take your cutting knife and cut in between the pieces very carefully. There will be some tearing in between the pieces, but as long as the piece itself is not ripped or torn, you will be able to cover up this mistake. Once you have the piece back, just glue the correct piece on and cover it up. You will barely be able to notice this, especially once the full assembly is completed. This does take some patience and skill, so don't rush through this process. At the end, you will need to add the border pieces to finalize the paper theater. I recommend starting with the large pieces first, then medium, and then small. And after all of that, you are finally done with the paper theater. Congratulations and enjoy the scene that you have just recreated. This is optional, but there are cases you can buy to protect your paper theater from dirt, dust, and other particles that can build up in the small gaps. There is a clear case and an LED light-up case. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I would love to see your completed paper theater. So please email me pictures at umamihobby@gmail.com. Thank you again so much for watching and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.